What's up, everybody? Back again here, based on cinema, here to review the 2022 Hellraiser, the remake. A young woman struggling with addiction comes into possession of an ancient puzzle box, unaware that its purpose is to summon the Cenobites. I'm Jacob.
I'm Nick.
And just a little backstory for myself. I've never seen Hellraiser. Didn't really see any of them up until last night. Nick was like, let's do the new one, the 2022 remake. I'm like, I'm down. I've never seen Hellraiser, and I have been wanting to watch it for quite some time. And I watched it last night, and it blew me away. First Hellraiser was absolutely phenomenal. I gave it like a 4.5 out of 5. To be quite honest, I was going to give it a 5, but there was a couple things in there that like didn't really hit when it came to some of the storytelling. There were some unanswered questions that I wanted answered that went along with the story. And one of the big ones really was when Julia went up to the attic. Her husband was bleeding because he had cut his hand moving into the house. The blood went into the floorboards, which caused Frank, his brother, to become resurrected partially. And that was the only thing that really got to me because I'm like, how does that even work? I mean, I'm assuming it's this evil room in which kind of contained a lot of evil energy. And that was my guess, was that the blood seeped into the floorboards, which has some kind of essence that still is interlocked with the realm of the Cenobites. Pretty much hell. It's pretty much hell is what it is. And that's kind of what got to me, was like, I think the blood going into the floorboards is what caused this portal to open and him to come out. Doesn't really make a lot of sense along with the rest of the movie, but there's that, and maybe like one more other thing I can't remember right now, which I might come to mind pretty soon. But I know, Nick, you've seen it quite a few times. But what do you think about the original?
The original, having seen it 3 times in total, when I was a kid, as a teenager, and then once as an adult. Back in like once as an adult. Um, it first stuck with me. I was also puzzled by that part of the film because I just couldn't completely wrap my head around exactly as you explained it. The blood dropping in, and then all of a sudden the resurrection.
Right.
Just like I was over here like,
You're just like,
but
okay, I'll just
why?
roll with it, I guess.
But why? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. But aside from that, like, I thoroughly enjoyed the film. I've been waiting years for Jacob to check this out. I never showed it to him. I tried to make it show it's like naturally something he got to do in time. And that's a lot of, like, it's kind of like a thing we like kind of do sometimes. Either we show it to each other or we just like, oh, here's this movie. Check it out in your time.
Right.
And, like, when you can. Because like we're both people who just in our own free time will be watching stuff usually. Me, not as frequently now, with life changes.
I've been going on a
I do have
rampage.
I have my bursts. I have bursts here and there, but like Jacob, he's been fucking.
I'm on a rampage right now. I watched like 2 days ago. Was it yesterday? No, yesterday. I think I watched a total of 5 movies.
Holy
I watched like
shit,
four
dude!
or five movies yesterday. I finished the first Predator, watched the second one, watched Alien versus Predator, Alien versus Predator 2, Requiem, and then I watched, no,
Mm.
wait, maybe I watched 5.5 because I finished the first one. Then I watched Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2. So I think I watched about 5.5 films
Dude,
yesterday.
watch 5.5
Yeah.
movies.
Once the snowball starts to roll, it just keeps rolling, and I get deeper and
And
deeper. And plus, like film right now, we're starting this channel and this podcast, and I've been really getting into film and really thinking outside of the box. And I just wanted to keep feeding my mind of all these films I've never seen yet and wanting to see. So that's really
it's the
it,
best way to
man.
go about it.
Yeah, I've just
Best way to
been
go about it is
been pumping
just let
out
it
films,
snowball.
man. Pretty
Just
much.
let it snowball. We used to, when I lived closer to Jacob, we used to just sit from the moment we woke up till from the morning till night almost. I would say I wouldn't say morning, but like midday till nighttime, majority of the time. We would just sit and just watch movies back to back to back to back. Of course, with breaks, snack breaks, and like drink breaks, go to the bathroom. But we would just be pumping movies throughout the day, nonstop. So like doing this now is kind of like reliving that because we're doing this and we get to talk about it with you guys, and it's a really great experience being able to do that. I definitely need to go through the comments and just see if there's anything there.
Right.
But if there is, we will address it in the next video or the current video or whichever
Oh
video
yeah,
you guys are
I'll
watching.
always be
We'll
checking
address that
everything.
stuff.
I check everything every day. We just
Mhm.
started putting out shorts. We've had some issues in the past with this program that I subscribe
Technical.
to, and now it's up and running. Finally, I'm pumping out
Mhm.
stuff from Alien right now, Alien Romulus. So check those out if you get a chance. And that's gonna be a daily thing. We're gonna have two shorts a day and one video a week. That's how it's gonna be. Um,
Dude,
yeah.
Romulus is so good.
So good. Romulus was great. If you haven't checked out the review yet, go check out the Romulus review.
Go check it out.
Phenomenal addition to the Alien universe. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, I would say, maybe if we have some time. So I want to get into the director and the writers a little bit
Yep.
because I was telling Nick, I was looking through the IMDb and I was really surprised by some of these people's catalog, I guess you could say. So we have David.
Audibly shocked.
Yeah, we have David Bruckner. Bruckner has done a few notable films that we already know of. So he's done The Night House. He's done The Ritual. We
Oh.
talked about him when we did VHS 85. And the
Mhm.
original VHS, he did The Amateur Night, which is the vampire chick who says, I like you.
Yeah.
That he did that. And he did Total Copy in VHS 85, the primary foundational story in VHS 85. That's what he worked on.
Dude.
He also did a little clip in Southbound, which I do want to watch eventually. And so I'm interested to see how he did with that because, I mean, in VHS and VHS 85, he had some of the most, more of the memorable
Mhm. Cult classic.
stories in the VHS series. So, like Amateur Night, everybody who's seen VHS remembers that one vividly.
Mhm.
And Total Copy is the foundational story in VHS 85. And so Southbound, I'm really interested to see what he does in Southbound. So he did this movie. Talk about it. One of the writers is Ben Collins. He wrote and did the screenplay for Hellraiser, and he also wrote The Night House. So he has some work with David Bruckner already.
Okay.
And then the other writer, there's one other writer who didn't really have much of a catalog, but this guy David S. Goyer, you might have heard, he's done
Mm. Yep.
a lot.
He's
So,
everywhere,
so
dude.
I'm
He's
gonna
got a
go.
foot in everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna go down the list here because it's honestly surprising what he's been a part of. So he wrote for Batman Begins, the Batman
Yeah.
Begins game story, The Dark Knight, did Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Call of Duty Cold War, the story. He did Vader Immortal, the game, episodes 1 and 3.
Dude.
Yep. He did Terminator Dark Fate, the story. He wrote and did the story for Krypton, the show, which didn't end very well.
Oh. Okay.
He did the Man of Steel screenplay and writing. If you can see that, there is
Bro.
the poster back here. He wrote and did the story for Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. He did the screenplay for Jumper with a man from Revenge of the Sith.
Aiden
Hayden
Christensen.
Christensen, that's right. He wrote Blade and Blade 2, and
Okay.
also did the Crow City of Angels video game. So the man has been up and down the ladder doing some interesting things, all over. I mean, he did some video games, Call of Duty, Vader. He did, Blade, his Spirit of Vengeance, a Man of Steel, Krypton. So maybe he's a Superman fan. I don't know. It seems like it.
Pretty sure Krypton was in, like, not exactly tied to Man of Steel,
mhm.
but I think the shield they used was the Man of Steel shield.
I think you're right.
But the
Right.
cape they used was like the Reeve cape.
Okay.
So I haven't watched it fully. I've seen here bits and pieces, but from memory, if memory serves correct, they used the Man of Steel shield. Um, the only thing difference was, as you know, Henry Cavill's cape, no yellow S on the back. The cape they show in the they present in the show to the audience is a cape with a yellow symbol on it.
From
Could
Superman.
that be?
Yep.
Could that be something that Cavill was gonna get, but we never got to it? The world may never know.
Yeah, they could have
But
used like
the
some
show
pieces that weren't used or something. I don't know.
the show itself though, from what I've heard, was very strongly well written.
Mm-hmm.
And now I believe it because I know who's been behind the script and behind the
Right.
pen. But it didn't go on long, and that could be because of how um the studio heads changed over time. That could be
Right.
another reason.
Right.
Because when new people come in, they want a clean slate. They want to stop things that are going on and start something new. And
That's what
that's
James
the
Gunn did.
prime example with James Gunn. But we're not unexcited.
We're just
We're
waiting.
whelmed.
We're
We're
waiting.
whelmed. Very whelmed right now.
Yep. So the Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and yeah, I mean, I guess we'll mention a couple of the actresses. We have Odessa Azion, who is the primary lead role in the movie. She's done a lot of TV, a lot of
How do you
TV.
say your name?
I'm sorry.
How do you say your name?
It's A''Zion, so Azion, I would assume. Odessa Azion. She's born in
Um,
2000, uh, just a month older than me.
Holy shit.
Yep. And she's done a lot of shows, a lot of TV, and she
I
did
think
a.
I
Go
I
ahead.
think I saw her in one show where she played like a teenager in school who was like SA'd
Okay.
because of how she dressed and how she presented herself. I'm not entirely sure for anybody that's watching. I've just seen clips, but I know that she acted the fuck out of the clips that I saw as that character.
Okay.
And it's another character that deals with addiction, I believe, similar to the character that we
Right.
are presented with this movie, Hellraiser.
Right. But yeah,
What were you
she's done
saying?
a lot of TV. Primarily, she did a movie called "Am I Okay?" Mark Mary and some other people. Super
Mm.
cool. I mean, Let's Scare Julie. Just a bunch of stuff that we've never really heard before.
Kind of
And
like
this could,
indie.
yeah, it seems like it's indie stuff, and this could be a little bit of a breakout for her. We'll see. We have Jamie Clayton, and she plays the priest of hell.
Oh shit.
Yep. She did a lot of TV as
It,
well. She did a movie called The Chain of Death, The Snowman. I haven't seen The Snowman. I actually wanted to watch The Snowman. It's like a
I heard
horror
it's
film about a snowman.
horrible.
Yeah, I heard it's bad, but
I heard it's Michael Fassbender.
is it?
Michael Fassbender, I think, and they fucked it up with Michael Fassbender.
That's nuts. Actually, let me check. Yeah, you're right. Yep, he's great. He's a great actor.
I just remember hearing like we watched a movie. Shout out to Mike and Jay. They reviewed it. I think it was Mike mainly. Um, but he was like, "How do you fucking ruin a movie when your lead star is Michael Fassbender?
I
Like,
mean,
how do you mess that up?"
they did. Well, she was in the
Not
Neon
great.
Demon. She was in the Neon Demon, so that's a
She was
notable
in
one.
Neon Demon?
Yeah, she was.
Holy shit.
Oh, you know why? Because she was the casting director. That's why.
Oh.
But like her along with Odessa, kind of like one of her bigger roles.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Adam Feisen, who played Colin. I think that's the brother, if I'm not mistaken.
That's the boyfriend.
It's the boyfriend,
Boy,
boyfriend of the
brother's
brother.
boyfriend.
Okay.
Yeah, but
But there's not. I mean, there's nothing really else to note. Like all these actors are pretty unwell known, and they're really getting a bit of a break here. I would say.
they're getting their shot.
Yeah, they're getting a shot here, 100%. So let's just get into it, man. Do you have any like starting thoughts that you want to address right off the bat, or should I just go down my notes
I'm gonna
here?
s- I'm gonna start with my cons, if that's cool.
Yeah, sure.
So going into this, had no expectations. I saw the trailer when it came out in 2022 or 2021. Since then, haven't really looked at anything. Haven't really spoiled myself for anything.
Just been on the back burner.
Just just went in completely blind for the most part. All I knew is that they were going with a more accurate depiction of um Pinhead from the original story in the source material, as opposed to the original film. And my cons for this so far were just like character decisions. Odessa's primarily. Um, it wasn't easy to care or like her character. I didn't really feel bad for her character at all
Right.
throughout the film um until the end. Even in the end, it still struggled to care and keep me um
Just
keep
like
me
in
invested
invested,
in
man.
invested in the
Yeah.
story. Yeah, it struggled throughout the film to do that. The only people who I genuinely did care about were people who barely spoke any lines, which was like Nora and Colin for the most part.
Right.
And the fact of it was is that they were just people caught up in the middle of Odessa's character's mess, Riley's mess, and some of the acting wasn't always on par. Um, but aside from the acting and just character choices in general, some direction I'm gonna say, um, it was a pretty solid film, I'd say. Did you have any like cons you wanted
I
to
mean, sure.
knock
I have
out?
a bunch of notes that I jotted down throughout the film, and I think you're right. I mean, it could be a combination of directing and writing. For me, it was the writing throughout the whole entire film that really got me down, and I think I'm a little biased right now just because I just watched the original and I liked it so much, and the reason why is because the original had so many metaphorical pieces of value, so much. A big part of it was the fact that the people's passions, from the Christian perspective, the people's passions and their fallen nature leads them to explore their fantasies, which leads them to the cube, which leads them to an opening of a door, literally and figuratively, that leads to more sinful nature,
Mm,
more evil pleasures. And throughout the whole entire film of Hellraiser, that is the major theme. It's when you are an unknowing person without faith and you're just going through life and really entertaining your passions. You know, demons, which is what, the Cenobites,
Cenobites.
yeah, that's who you draw in. You lead them to yourself. They are attracted to you just like you're attracted to them unknowingly. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the huge thing with the original Hellraiser, is that your passions lead to more stronger passions and lead you to demons if you don't watch it and take care of them. And that gets a grip on you, and then eventually these passions have a grip on you, and these demons have a grip on you, and you just can't leave. You can't escape it unless by God Himself, And
Yeah.
that is what the hell. That's why I liked Hellraiser so much, because it shows you these people's journeys into deeper corruption, much deeper corruption, and that's it. It was so good. It was so good. It was simple, even though some like a couple things like I mentioned were a little ambiguous, but for the most part, man, it was just a very, very, very good movie. It was incredible. That's why I gave it like a 4.5, because so much of it was well written, well directed, the visuals, animatronics, the special effects. Like that was one thing about Hellraiser 2022. The makeup didn't like catch my eye that much. Like you can obviously see what they have going on, but
Yeah.
in the original, man, they were like bloody
It was
and wet and like
insane.
grotesque. Like it was really body horror to a degree.
Yeah.
The 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 the, the makeup in this movie 2022 just didn't really do it for me whatsoever. It wouldn't
It was
even
toned
like
down.
it was toned down a lot, and even like the gory parts when they get strung up on the chains, when they have this or that, I'm just stone faced. And in the original, I'm really watching and like baffled at what's happening in front of me. And me and Nick have seen so many horror movies, so many different kinds of horror movies, more grotesque than others. And like
Hmm.
the first Hellraiser really did something to me, but like this one did nothing in terms of the visuals and the makeup. The Cenobites of the original film set like a precedent of what
Hmm.
horror movies could be and how demons and passions could be depicted as. It kind of has this level of like the seven deadly sins happening, but not actually.
Literally what I was thinking.
Yeah, and it really grabbed you and kept you into the story visually. It kept you in and drawn in. But like this new one, it didn't do anything for me really when it came to the visuals. It really didn't. Like I think the cinematography was pretty okay. Like there were some
Hmm.
shots that were beautiful, and there were some things and the way it was shot that kept me in. And
Hmm.
I think without the cinematography being as good as it was, I think I really wouldn't have much to say in terms of the good. and they changed
Yeah.
so much about the story, which I'll get into. But man, I mean, the big thing was, when you watch the original and the second one, because I only watched the first two sequentially. When you touch the cube, there's like a blue electric, like special effect that happens. None of that's here, and I wonder if the blue special effect, the electricity kind of thing, is like the cube kind of grabbing you and kind of like gaining a
Hmm.
part of your consciousness and like gaining some sort of power over you. And you don't actually visually see that here.
You hear like a sound effect or something when it's like there's something drawing the characters to that cube in this film, but there's no
Mm-hmm.
visual cue to show that happening. It's more of a just like a are the why are they going towards that? Is it a curiosity thing? Is it like, oh, what's that? Or is it something more sinister lurking behind the shadows, drawing them closer to this box? And to piggyback off what you said about the visuals, I'm gonna give them props for trying to
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
especially in 2022, which like it wasn't as prominent as it is now to use practical effects. Now, right now, this period right now is fucking booming. A lot of films, action, drama, thrillers, sci-fi, you're seeing a lot of practical effects being used. And in 2022, that wasn't as prominent. It was, but not on that large
It's
of a
growing
scale.
again.
So seeing them be one of the first people in the 2020s going, let's try and do as much practical work as we can. I appreciate, and I'm just gonna give a tip the cap to that. Even I do agree with Jacob though, there wasn't a lot that in comparison to the original with practical effects, like severely toned down. It was gory, it was moments where I was like, oh, but it wasn't nearly as off-putting or as like shocking as when I first saw Hellraiser, the original.
Definitely not as impactful.
It wasn't. I was just over here like, okay, that's happening. What's gonna happen
Right, what's
next?
gonna happen
Okay.
next? And then yeah,
You're just waiting to see.
their movie was 2 hours long.
It's 2 hours.
I don't think it should have been 2 hours, man. I mean, the original Hellraiser was like only an hour and a half, and
I
that
think,
felt comfortably long, but only yeah, it was literally
yeah.
an hour and 34 minutes. But it was
So
just the right amount of time.
yeah, what I feel they did is they dropped the ball, making it so long, because just going based off your script, if you're like, how many drafts do you get to before you reach the final script, you know? You
Yeah,
go through a lot.
a lot.
If you're not, and you also, before films are released, the majority of the time they're gonna do like a test screening for audiences, like test audiences.
Sure.
If you have a 2 hour long movie and your character's not likable to some degree, and I don't mean like, oh, they're pretty, or oh, they're attractive in any sense, like whether it's a male or a female. Um, don't just go based off that. Don't just go off like shock factor. Don't go off that. If you're doing a 2 hour long movie and you're focusing on specific characters and what's going on with their lives and what's going on with this and that, it's like really take a look at your script and make sure you're putting out the best you have to offer in terms of that character. If you're focusing on that character, make sure you make it so that they're likable, redeemable, enjoyable, and entertaining all in that one thing. You want to be invested in that character. You don't want people saying exactly what we said in the beginning. Riley, Odessa's character, was not that at all for
Mm-hmm.
the 2 hours that we sat through this film. She was phenomenal as an actress.
Yeah, she was
But
good. She was a good actress, but
I did not care for her character. Honestly, I'm not saying I want anything bad to happen to her character, but I wouldn't have cared if something did.
right,
I cared more about her brother Matt,
right, because he was
and
written well.
he was a side character.
No,
He
he was
wasn't
probably
even
the
in the
best written
film.
character of everybody, probably.
Legitimately the best written character, and then he's gone.
Yep.
And he has his moments where he's featured throughout the rest of the film, but it's just rough, It's I really think this could have been cut down to at least an hour, not even an hour and 30 minutes, maybe like an hour and 10 minutes.
Wow.
And that's like I never usually say anything like that. I'm usually like a little bit more gracious. Except for when evil lurks, that yeah. Um, but this one could have been cut down a shit ton,
A
and
lot.
you would have saved your character. I feel like Odessa's character would have been a little bit more likable had
Just
you
got
cut down
so
her
annoying
time.
over time.
Like just because of her choices and how she acted when people around her were acting um logical and trying to take a moment, let's breathe, let's think. Not I'm not talking about Trevor specifically,
Mm-hmm.
but because we all know about Trevor. If you've seen this movie, you know, fuck Trevor. But if you take a moment and you look at other characters who are trying to talk to her and trying to figure shit out, she's doing the complete opposite of what they say at every single turn. And
Right.
they're trying to help her. So it falls apart because it's too long. They give her too many chances in this kind of runtime to mess up
Right.
and to not redeem herself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're and no like disrespect to the writers, especially David S. Goyer, but if I'm pretty sure he's the right, yeah. How do you look at this script and say, yeah, this should be fun. People should. I think we're gonna root for this character. She's a protagonist.
I think it's like to a degree like Matt Smith playing in Morbius. It was like, dude, like I am getting paid to do this, and maybe I thought this was something that was good, and now it's not, and now we're just kind of stuck in here. And now it's like, well, the movie
Yeah.
we put all this funding and the budget's already here. The studios already gave us so much money. We gotta just do with what we have. But even as a writer, he's done a lot of good
No,
stuff, and it's
he
like,
has.
I mean,
It's shocking.
you're not always gonna have hits, and you're not always gonna do good. And I
That's
wonder
true.
if like the studio hindered him at all. I really do, and I'm not sure. But still,
It's tough.
it's tough.
It's tough
You
to
don't know
say.
what's happening behind the scenes. You have no idea. So we're only telling what we see at this point.
And even like you're absolutely right about that. I just remembered that even with that, someone else you could have someone write a whole script and then some dude at the end comes in like the final draft, they'll come in, be brought on by the studio and they'll change a shit ton of stuff. And you still could have your name on that credit as a writer,
Mm-hmm.
even though your script now is gone or been changed completely or mutilated.
Right.
And that happens in the industry a lot. So I'm not saying who or what wrote it, but I'm saying at any point if there was somebody who was competent enough to read this script and be like, maybe we should fix this, but they weren't able to, or they just decided not to, or they were shut out, like
Got no clue,
there's no
man.
fault or blame on them. It's just insane. It's just
I have no idea. I feel
fuck.
like I'm just gonna go down the notes at this point.
Yeah, just go down the notes.
So the film does start off with a dude entertaining his fantasies, just like the first movie, which leads him to the cube, just like Julia. So the dude walks throughout this mansion at this party, and he sees some people like making out, and kind of like this sexual room. And then he goes to the
Hmm.
bar, and he's just like, "Man, this place is incredible." So that already gave me a sign of a similarity with the first movie in terms of what's going to lead this guy to the cube in the first place. But of course, as we go down the film, it's not that way whatsoever. And that was what really lost me, is the fact that you had this essence that the first film brought so heavily, and that's the thing about the first film too. It was done so well that like it was amazing to me that it was made in the late 80s, and I thought it was made like in the late 70s. But just like Alien was made in like 79, 78, 79. And Hellraiser was made in like 87, and it just passed so well for what it was. And this film just didn't hit any of those check boxes that the first one did. And of
Hmm.
course, this is a reimagining, but like the whole point of why the first one was so damn successful, had so many sequels and so many spin-offs, was because of the essence of the original film. So the main actress gets the cube, um, and one of the demons says, "If not you, then somebody else." Like right away, when she's in the park, she says, "If not you, then somebody else." So immediately there's
Yeah.
this like sacrificial factor that only happens later in the first film, um, as a replacement of yourself. And it
Mhm.
seems like throughout this film, there's a level to it where the demons are using somebody to pass the cube around in order to feed it and to build up the levels of this cube, because there's levels to it. Each shed of blood, each sacrifice opens the cube up to the next level. In
Mhm.
the first film, the only sacrifices that are made is Julia bringing in people to feed Frank, and that was the only level. He gets resurrected. He needs more bodies. He needs more blood. He needs more essence, and that's what he gets. In this one, you need sacrifices to open up the cube, step by step, stage by stage, to finally reach the end. Which still is kind of ambiguous, because what's the point if the lead character doesn't even want that? And we find out that Voight, is the one who's kind of behind reaching what he wants to reach. And
Yeah.
of course, we
An
find out
audience with
that,
God.
yeah, we finally figure out that her boyfriend is behind it all to a degree, getting paid off by Voight. And it's just not a good show, man. It's just the story just delves deeper in into boredom. It doesn't hold anything of value really when it comes to the progression of an interesting story.
I
Uh,
feel that they went with like a cliche
yeah,
story route where it's like, oh, hey, twist, shock value. Oh, movies like It Follows or, you know, zombie type movies. You, in order to survive, you gotta either keep infecting somebody or you gotta fucking then stop
yeah,
stop altogether. And it's just like, let's take a little bit of all these things, put it into this movie, put this iconic character in it, and that'll be it. We're gonna market it really well because we're doing what the original source material was, and it's like not a male or not a female um
yeah,
antagonist,
hmm
Pinhead. It's just an entity,
yeah.
and when they marketed the film, that was like huge thing. That was a really controversial, really big thing they were doing, and that was their selling point was that whole the Pinhead, the character of Pinhead.
And I've got some notes for
Um,
that as well, so I'll get into that eventually too.
and it just, like Jacob said, it felt flat. It felt like it was lacking substance
hmm
that the original film brought. And like, I enjoyed it at parts, but even looking back, it wasn't as enjoyable as I thought it was. Like, oh, like, there's a difference between enjoying watching a character, enjoying seeing that person as that character, and then there's actually enjoying and experiencing that experience with them as that character.
hmm
And throughout the film, I was just over here
Right.
like I said, disappointed, disappointed. There's only one suspenseful scene fully for me, and that was when they had trapped a Cenobite in the house with them, and they were gonna try and stab it, and that thing just breaks free and starts chasing them. But like, but right before it breaks free, when they're slowly approaching it with the blade. That's the only part that was suspenseful for me. The only part that really had me like, oh shit,
It
it's in
doesn't
the
even it
house.
doesn't even seem like it was set free. It was just like Pinhead allowed its mechanism to loosen, so that his hands are
Mm,
free. Because
kind of.
the demon kind of had that device in his chest, like Voin did. It was
Mm-hmm.
kind of tied to. I mean, of course, it was toying with his nerves, but in this sense, it was kind of like its arms were restricted, and then it let loose, and he was able
Yeah,
to like do what he wanted to do. You know,
gotcha.
the door is opened through blood. The person solves the cube, and a blade pops out of the cube, cutting whomever. And when the blood is shed of that person, then they take the person, and the blood opens, and the door opens. It's like a blood sacrifice. So this is the thing about this movie. Like, the cube is so well known in the horror field because of what it entails. You solve the cube, a door opens. They totally retcon that in a sense. Because, yes, you solve the cube, but then a blade appears, and through the bloodshed of the blade onto a person, that's what allows the door to open, and the person in whom it cuts, that's then who is taken. It takes
Mm-hmm.
away this element of the original story. I mean, obviously, the original story is still the original story. It's not going to take away from it. It's just the fact that you're losing the essence of the cube. You're changing it and making it something else entirely, that it just becomes annoying, because the person who solves it doesn't even then get repercussions. They could just use it on somebody else if they want to, and for what gain?
Yeah.
Obviously for their own gain, because at the end of it, they get to choose which gift they want to have. But it's like a sacrificial satanic thing where you shed the blood of another, of somebody else, and then you're one step closer to your reward. Versus the original, where if you solve the cube, you do get your reward into a combination of pleasure and pain in the depths of hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The first movie, if you do that, you open up the doors of your passions, and you get what you deserve. You get what you asked for. And in this one, it just requires more steps to then choose what you want in particular, which punishment you want in particular.
Which level
There's
of gift
which
you
levels
want.
of gift that you want, and that might be a little interesting, which it is, but I much more prefer the original over this new idea.
The ending was what threw me off a little bit. I don't know if we can jump to that, unless you want to
Yeah,
cover
we
some
could.
stuff.
That was the only the ending was the only redeeming factor of the main character, because
Yeah.
she was like, I don't even want the gifts anymore. I'm just gonna deal with the life, because
I'm just
the
gonna
whole
roll
character.
with it.
Yeah, because like her whole thing was like she just was kind of like trying to escape reality, and now she's like, I'm just gonna deal with it, and that's what I'm gonna choose. I already caused all this pain and suffering, and I actually have a note here. At the end of the film, the protagonist Riley is offered the opportunity to choose one of these gifts after solving the box. She ultimately decides to choose Lament, which is associated it is associated with the configuration of the same name. However, instead of choosing it as a reward, she chooses Lament as a way to reject all the other options. The Cenobites interpret this as Riley accepting her current state of grief and guilt without seeking any further supernatural intervention. Essentially, by choosing Lament, she acknowledges her suffering and loss rather than trying to alter it with one of the Cenobites' twisting gifts. So while Lament is one of the available choices, Riley's decision is to embrace her pain and reject the Cenobites, opting to face her human struggles without their interference. And this is actually kind of Christian, because she takes like her mistakes and everything that she's done, all the people she's hurt, all the choices she's made, and she's like, I'm just going to deal with it and carry my cross. That's, in that sense, that's like the metaphorical value that I found within that.
Yeah.
So
that was the one redeeming moment.
That was the one redeeming moment of her character and of the movie.
Yeah.
In terms of its depth,
And
like there's not a lot of depth in the movie.
the only thing I could think of during that whole scene was just I was like, as soon as they get to a hospital and they heal up, I'm like, Colin's never talking to this girl again.
Right.
He is cutting her
Cutting
off.
her out.
He's like, I'm done with you. Your brother, my boyfriend's dead because of you. My friend's dead because of you. I'm fucked up because of you. You're fucked up. I'm done with you. That is it. We're done. You could take your demons. Fuck off. Just
Pretty much.
in my head, all I could think of that. All I could think was like, as soon as they're like in the hospital bed, just sitting there, and he's just like, "Fuck you."
Yeah. In the original, the door is open just by solving the cube. Somebody returns through the blood of another, but the door doesn't just open that way. In the remake, it's a combination of blood and the cube. Yeah, and it's, for me, appreciating the original so much, it's a little annoying, but of course I'm going to slightly accept this new reiteration of it,
Mm-hmm.
and at this point it just is what it is. And
I was excited to see. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go first.
No, I was gonna say really quickly. I was excited to see who their god was and what this audience with that god would be like, and I was very disappointed because it was just a giant fucking version of the cube in the final
That
form.
is how it was in the original. Like they still called, the thing that came down in the sky. That was weird too because, excuse me, in the original, you go down the depths enough of the labyrinth, and then you get to the Leviathan, which is kind of like the host monster of the labyrinth.
Yeah.
To get there. In this one, you do the same thing. You get to it after completing every stage of the cube. Now
Hmm.
you don't. The door doesn't open. I mean, it does, but like in the sky, and like it opens a
Yeah.
portal in like the dimensions of space and time, and then it enters.
Yeah.
It's not this. It's not nearly the same, and it is. And just to like kind of a quick rebuttal on what you're saying. Only reason why it makes sense that it's just this thing, this shape, is because that's how it was in the original.
Yeah.
It's kind of
It
like
was it was shown in the book too. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And I just like I was expecting like a being for some reason. I was like, please, let's see what they got. Let's see what they're cooking up.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I think you said I was let down a little bit by the Cenobites and how they were presented, shown. Um, thought they were definitely cooler looking and more grotesque looking than the original.
I couldn't get my eyes off of
So
the original. I was like kind of like I was just kind of like
you're just
studying.
like,
I was just kind of studying how they were designed. And
yeah,
the new one, sure, I was doing that a little bit, but like not to the extent. It was just kind of. I mean, the way I could explain it is it's kind of bland.
it was like gripping.
Yeah, it didn't grip me at all. And it was like, oh,
Hmm.
there's okay, this person has like a skin hat, and this person, they got slits in their
Didn't have
nether region, and they have this, and it's like
like
whatever. It
I was
doesn't.
over here like, is that Lady Gaga's meat suit from the
Maybe,
VMA?
yeah, good one. That's a good one. So the main character is led to the cube through drugs, sex, and thievery. So we do find that, and instead of like finding the realm of hell in which the Cenobites are in, she finds Trevor and is led through him through sex, drugs, and thievery, which then leads her to
Hmm.
the cube and leads her through, the Cenobites. So it does kind of
Yeah,
hold a little bit of the essence, like I was saying before, with the gentleman in the beginning finding the cube through, going through this mansion. And the woman at the bar, it kind of reminds me of Julia's role because she's bringing Voight bodies to
mm,
sacrifice. So it kind of has that same element. This woman who you don't really see after the beginning scene,
yeah,
she guides people into this room to meet Voight, and they solve the cube, and they become sacrifices, just like Julia did with Frank. She lures men
hmm,
to the top of the apartment complex, or the top of the house, and then leads her to Frank to be sacrifices. And that's kind of the same thing. It really is kind of that is a real or very good mirror, but that's it. That's like from the beginning of the movie and kind of the elements of the main character, um, showing how she came to the cube. That was really the only essence that they brought from the original. When it came
yeah.
to finding the cube and your passions finding the cube, that was really it.
I
Uh,
liked Pinhead's performance.
oh
I
yeah,
thought it
I
was
agree.
interesting. I thought it
Yeah,
was very interesting. Obviously, it's not gonna be nearly as you can't compare it to the original. Um, I know the original actor's name, but it's escaping me at the moment.
I got you.
It's escaping me right now, but I know his name. I know it. If I hear it, it's on the tip of my tongue. Damn, it's like when you're trying to remember your favorite ice cream flavor, and someone asks you right on the spot.
It's not even telling me exactly. Uh, Chattering lead Cenobite. Oh, Doug Bradley.
Doug Bradley.
Yeah.
Doug Bradley, dude. I knew it started with a D. Doug Bradley, the original Hellraiser, the way he like just his presence in that first film, the way his voice,
Oh yeah.
his everything, mannerisms, everything.
Oh yeah.
It literally felt like when he said, "We will tear your soul apart." Dude, I
Yeah.
was fucking getting chills down my I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. Chills down my spine and just
These new Cenobites don't touch the originals, and
they don't touch
so
the
does
originals.
Pinhead.
Pinhead in this one just feels like a little more
Like
sassy,
she's
a little
cool.
more
Like
like
she does a good job.
she's
Like
cool as fuck.
she
Yeah.
draws me in enough for me to care about what she's going to say next. But like Nick's
I just
saying,
felt like it
like
wasn't as
Doug does a
intense.
great job. Like he's intensity. He brings the fear. Everybody who encounters him, they're horrified. And I feel like with her, she kind of has more mysticism and more
Yeah.
curiosity that you have to like seek. But
Like
Doug,
I'd be terrified if
yeah,
the new one approached me in a dark alleyway. I'd be terrified. I'd pee a little pee would come out. But if Doug Bradley emerged from the shadows and said some shit, my skin would peel off my body like Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, Deadpool, and Wolverine. Now still on theaters in IMAX. Um, yeah, I would just be honest with you. A little P for 2022, skin peeling off of me and terror
The,
from
the
Doug
the
Bradley.
comparison of Doug and the original Cenobites has no comparison to the new one whatsoever. Whatsoever.
No, yeah, no,
All right.
no.
So Voight also called them angels, and the original Pinhead, Doug, called themselves demons or angels depending on who you talk to, but he called them
Hmm.
angels. So obviously, it's
Yeah,
kind of a bit of a callback.
yeah.
The woman in the hospital, the lawyer said she opened the cube and did it herself and cut herself, but the main chick definitely opened it. In my
Hmm.
opinion, Odessa's character like literally twisted the end on her end and
Yeah,
literally made the blade spring up. But
yeah,
the lawyer
yeah.
was like, "No, I did this to myself," and I think that might be like a more vast idea where it's like she literally did it
It's
herself.
she's
She was a part of this process, and she's just getting her due.
Yeah,
You
I feel
know?
like that's what it was too. She was kind of like, no, no. It's kind of like one of those things. I was thinking about this when that happened. Like, there's always, and like, especially nowadays with horror movies, there's always that scene where it's like, no, I got rid of that. How is it back?
Yeah.
How is it back?
Right.
And I was like, this isn't. I was like sitting there like, this is, here we go. She's gonna do the same shit. She didn't. She didn't
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
But I was waiting for
She
it.
just
But and
accepted
then
it.
she almost did it at the end when she got the when Odessa's character fucking was like, "I'm gonna solve this shit in your hands, bitch,"
Yeah.
and the lawyer is just like, "Ah," and then she's down there. She's like, "No, no, it's fine.
Dang it.
I did it myself." I was like, "You didn't.
Literally.
Shut up." Just like,
Yeah, like we just discussed, there's probably more to that, but that's just how it felt when you watch it.
she's over here like those fucking
Well, that's
Cutco
the thing
mice.
about like a good movie and a bad movie. It's like a movie like this where it's like I did it myself. At first, it's like, wait, this is kind of ridiculous because she literally Odessa's character literally just did it herself.
Literally just.
So you have to literally think back and think about the movie to really kind of get that metaphorical aspect of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Dude, excited at the same time.
yeah, the only makeup that really got to me was Voign's character when he gets that device taken off his chest and his back and his body heals together.
That
And
was the only scene.
that one, and I think one of the Cenobites had you can see the lungs in its back and it's breathing. It's like early
I don't
on.
think
It's
I.
early on in the
Okay.
film, but like it's lungs from the back, or you can see are like
Was that the lawyer's one?
I can't remember. I can't remember, but you can see the lungs breathing. That was the only other cool one that I thought.
I
It really
thought,
was.
yeah,
Like the original was much more grotesque. Like Frank's resurrection by
ugh,
itself. When I was watching
fuck.
Frank's resurrection, I'm like, yeah, I'm in for a trip. You know, like seeing Frank get resurrected and his brains like coming off the ground, all this white
Ugh.
and slimy goo. It's like, whoa,
If
okay. I'm like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this film it's gonna be something else. You know what I mean? I was ready
you're just like
for it.
trying to talk to the past, like in directors while they're making this and editing it. Okay, guys, calm down. Come on, chill.
Yeah,
Fucking no, but if the 2022 version would have kept that same kind of like edge that the original had with all of its effects, not just for the final scene with the device. If they would have kept that kind of edge going, like that edge lord shit with all of the effects, dude, this film would have been a little bit higher up
better.
on the on par with the original. It's just it was lacking in so many areas, and that's the biggest big fail. Um, where it really failed for me personally, and possibly for Jacob too.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Jacob said, essence. I'm gonna say the atmosphere of the film of that feeling for a Hellraiser film was missing. And aside from just the acting and like certain directing and choices made, it just was missing a lot of stuff that really could have fleshed it out more.
This one should have just been
And
called like the Cube of Leviathan because it didn't. I don't know. You're just giving the name a
it
bad name at that point.
wasn't Pandora's box, that's for sure.
Right.
After
Yeah.
Pandora opens,
No
if
one
you
else is
solve the
gonna get
puzzle,
that. No one else is
no,
gonna. No one else is gonna
you
get
saw
that.
If you solve the box, Geronimo.
Geronimo. Dude,
Dude,
that dude.
imagine
Yeah,
when
I know exactly what
imagine
I
she's
know.
imagine fucking Roland solved it and he like placed it down. He looked up to the fucking sky.
Geronimo.
Geronimo.
No one else is understanding what we're talking about.
That's what this movie was missing. Matt Smith.
Yeah, you just hear his theme come in.
He's
It's like, hello. It's
like
like
he's like put that
you
down.
can only open the door to the cube. I was like, was that right? Bzzz. Let's go find this Leviathan. He like goes to the labyrinth and he sees it. He gives like his whole speech, like he did with
Yeah.
the what he did with the planet, with that one episode.
He just looks up to the giant
Yes, and
god.
he gives his whole speech.
He's like,
Wake up
"Come
plays in the
on,
background.
man."
Wake up is
Yeah.
playing in the background.
Come on, man.
No one
Take
is.
it.
No one's take it.
Take it off, baby.
No one's understanding what we're talking about. All right.
I'm gonna put the music in that one section, just like a
Yeah.
snippet of it, just like a little clip snippet.
Somebody's got to edit him in that scene, from the original, in the labyrinth.
Don't tempt me.
Do it. Voight is known as an occult collector, and he quote has fucked up sex stuff.
Zach Bagans.
In my dungeon.
My dungeon.
Good song. Seems like Voight was pretty much feeding the demons and Leviathan as much people as possible, disappearing like her brother. So this is weird, man, because like he's helping feed the Leviathan, getting what he wants, because he already got what he wanted, but now he's like trying to. He paid Trevor to get the cube in Odessa's character's hands in order for him to get another shot at picking something else.
Yeah.
It's stupid to me. Like, it just,
I didn't like it.
It brings me out of the movie, and it's like you have this whole
'Cause
journey, and now you have this twist, and it's like, well, it's just Voight behind it all, trying to get another shot at the cube, and with the
What's the
Cenobites.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point of the rules of the box if you're just gonna bend the rules of the box?
Yeah,
If Odessa started it, why the fuck does Voight taking it, stabbing somebody, change who initially opened it and started it?
yeah. I mean,
Why does he get a choice?
Yeah,
You know?
you do have a slight bending in the original, the first two,
Yeah, but
because
slight.
it's different. Like you have a whole conversation with Pinhead, where he's like, "Don't kill me." I forgot her name, but the daughter of the Julia's stepdaughter. She's like, wait.
Yeah.
I know somebody who you want, and he's like, okay, fine, you know. But this is just totally different. It's not even like a
Yeah.
180. It's just a whole different route.
It's like, hey, we're going 720 on this bitch.
Yeah.
But there is a comic, a Hellraiser comic. I don't know if it's a full comic. I think it might be like a couple panel thing, where the fucking box is found by some kid in an attic, I think, and he unlocks it, and they come to collect the kid. But what they don't realize is because of all the commotion that happens when they arrive, the kid's father, the kid has a black eye, I think, and the father is a super abusive, a drunk, it's all that stuff, like horrible human being. When they realize the kid is an innocent soul and pure, and the father breaks into the room trying to figure out what the fuck's going on,
Mm-hmm.
they see him and they take him in place, and they're like, and then they say all the classic stuff like, "We will tear your soul apart,"
Yeah.
like, or stuff like, "We will show you new levels of like suffering and stuff."
One thing that
like
was interesting about what you're saying is that in the second movie, Julia's stepdaughter once again is like, wait, like, what do you know? No more deals. Like, no, I have information this time, and he basically shows them their humanity once again, because they were all human eventually. They were all human at one point, even Pinhead, and they all start changing back into humanoid form. And one of the Cenobites was like a young teen.
Holy shit.
It could have been a kid, but it was like a younger teen. So that's interesting with what you're saying. Maybe this younger child had some corruption inside them versus the one you're talking about that was all pure. You know,
I mean, there's kids all the time that do some crazy shit. Like,
Yeah.
there's kids who cut cat, like kill
yeah,
cats,
yeah.
kill
That's
kids.
true. That's true.
So like, I wouldn't be surprised if
You're right.
there was one in that universe that was just like, and then
Yeah,
they
maybe.
fucking.
That's true.
But
That's
yeah,
true.
if I highly recommend anybody who's watching, even Jacob, if you got a minute, just look up that comic with the Hellraiser.
Right.
I don't know if it's a legitimate official comic or if it's a fan one. I'm pretty sure it's official, but it was a cool, interesting take on it. And honestly, like if you could have turned that into a full movie, I would have been more invested in that than
Sure.
Odessa's character.
Yeah, of course. Um, Voight has
It
his
feels
whole
more in line with that first one.
yeah. Voight has his whole place designed to lock people in, and he can still see the demons, the Cenobites. He has drawn to them, and he said that they revealed himself. He said that the cube. He said that they revealed themselves to me. Like the Cenobites revealed themselves to him. You know, we're not really aware if he opened the cube at one point and shed blood, but he said that they revealed themselves to him and they were using him as like a tool for more sacrifices in return
Yeah.
for a gift. You know, so the whole damn agenda of the Cenobites is totally different here, where
Hmm.
they're using people for more souls, and eventually whoever they use for more souls to get them the souls, they give them a gift.
Yeah.
You know, so that's pretty much Voight's part in this, essentially.
He wants his gift taken back.
And what's a new
He
one?
wants a different gift. He wants a
Voight,
new gift.
yeah, Voight has his own torture chamber in the basement. And he's clearly into the stuff that the demons already offer, in a sense. But as the woman says in the I think it was Odessa's character, he quote unquote has fucked up sex stuff, and he's an
Yeah.
occult collector.
They're like, all your pleasures were never for like all your quests and conquests and whatnot weren't for pleasure. They were for power.
Yeah,
And I think he becomes a Cenobite at the
he
end.
does,
I think that's what's going on with
100%.
him.
That's what I think. The final
No word
configuration
of
is up.
oh yeah, no word of a sequel yet. So
Yeah,
we'll
thank
see.
God. I don't want one. Just don't even. I don't want to have to review another one of these. We
But
will, but like, geez.
we will. But since there's no word of a sequel, what you can do if you're watching this is head to your local theater. Still in theaters now is Deadpool and Wolverine in IMAX. Still tickets available at this time.
And
Still showing.
Amulin Romulus.
Alien Romulus. Fuck, don't sleep on Alien Romulus. Go see Alien
Go
Romulus,
see that
please.
movie.
Please go see
So
that
the final configuration allows resurrection when blood is all that is. Not the final one, but one of the configurations allows resurrection when blood is all that you need or in the original film.
movie.
So you spill the blood and they're able to resurrect. You know, and that is a little vague to me. That's why I only gave it 4.5
Yeah.
because of that element, and it's kind of mystical, and you're not really supposed to know the answer to it. And that's fine. But this one allows resurrection at a certain point once you solve the cube, and that's what you could. That's what you can choose. And
Yeah.
I just mentioned that as a little side note.
And it's cool how they still kind of hinted. They still kind of kept into that like the whole like with like most supernatural lore and stuff like that when it comes to the resurrection. They're like, oh yeah, you'll get someone back,
Right.
but it might not be that person fully.
Might not their soul or whatever.
Yeah,
A lot of
it's
the
kind of like
yeah.
supernatural, other stuff like that.
A lot of the film included a lot of bickering, which is what really
Hmm.
took me out of it. They were just constantly fighting. There's all these bickering, and it wasn't even constructive. And the writing wasn't done well enough for me to like actually want to pay attention to the fighting. Like when they're in the
Yeah.
car and they're trying to escape, and then the British woman, I don't even know what her role was I don't know if it was her brother or
Nope.
whatnot, but you
She
know,
was a friend.
who's a friend. Okay, so like she gets taken through the car, and like they're bickering, and it's like, come on, you can't notice that something's going on behind you. And it's just kind of stupid.
Yeah, it wasn't well done that part, to be honest.
And like she could use a Cenobite as a sacrifice, which I thought was weird. Like at the end of the day, they're all humans, but like they're just gonna bring the Cenobite back to where he was originally in the first place, and like start the
Exactly.
process over again. Like it just doesn't make sense to
I
me.
think I think that's why they took Roland at the end. It's like we lost two, we lost one technically. You're gonna replace that. It's
Yeah, but in
like,
the one, she killed the Chatterer. The one Cenobite
oh, yeah,
that
yeah,
chatters its teeth. Like she killed
yeah.
that one. It's like, well, what's the point in that? It's supposed to be humans, and I get it. It's a human, but bastardized and torn through hell. But like,
Yeah.
what's the point? It's just get taken back to hell and then repeat the process as it was originally? Like it just, I don't know, man. Okay, well, so one thing I noticed about the Cenobites is that they have the majority of them have a female looking structure to their bodies,
Hmm.
and the original had more male
Yeah, there was
characteristics.
more. Yeah. There was
Just
like one female one, I think, or
no, there
two
was
maybe.
a few in which they looked more female in structure versus the original, where they kind of looked more male.
Yeah, I'm saying in the original, I think there was like one or
Oh,
two that
right,
were
yeah, yeah,
at
yeah, yeah,
least female, right?
right, correct.
This one, there's just like every single one's kind of got that more of a
Like a
shape.
masculine shape.
Yeah.
So the metal framework of the house keeps stuff out and keeps stuff in, and that made me wonder if like it was made out of iron. Like it's
Mm.
supernatural, you had you only like iron can
Molten iron.
yeah. So in supernatural, like only iron can kind of like eradicate ghosts for a moment, and I wonder if like the iron structure of the building kept them out.
I thought it was like sigils in the framework.
That too could have been it. That could have been it
That's what I
too.
was thinking.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's still ambiguous. Like you don't know. It's like it's
what
it's
is?
designed to keep them out. So it's like, well,
It's like,
iron or
what
sigils, maybe
exactly?
both. I don't know.
What have you done here? I feel like there was a scene they probably had explained it, but they're like, it's too much exposition. Just fucking do it. Put it in there.
With the whole thing with the twist, I immediately felt like they mixed Saw with Hellraiser. This is
Ooh,
what this movie kind of felt like. They took Saw and they took
yeah,
Hellraiser and they mashed them together and had a baby.
I can see that.
Because
I
you
can see
have
that.
somebody who's doing certain things like a part of the game. You have your objectives that you have to do in order to get what you want. In Saw, it's freedom. In this, it's another
Yeah.
shot at what you want, the gift. And that's kind of what I got from it. It felt like kind of like a Saw combination with Hellraiser. That was just a thought that I had.
Fuck, I think you might be onto that. I think you might be
Maybe,
right about that.
yeah.
Because it's literally Roland pulling the strings,
Mm-hmm.
making people suffer and
Having an
pay,
accomplice.
having an accomplice in the shadows
Mm-hmm.
who's with everybody at the same
Mm-hmm.
time.
Maybe.
And instead of like there being like some moral thing, it's more of a I want my fucking reward.
Shout out to Shawnee Smith.
Shout out to Shawnee Smith.
Um.
She needs more. We need to get her in one of these movies.
Yeah, that's all I really got
With
notes wise. But like,
dude, imagine her an alien.
she would kill it.
She would fuck shit up an alien.
Cast Shawnee Smith in the next Alien movie.
Petitions. Shawnee Smith in the next alien movie.
Let's do it.
Dude, that would be so good.
But she's a phenomenal actress.
She killed it in Saw X, dude. She would kill it in alien movies.
I
I feel
agree.
like that would fit
I,
really
th-
well for her.
I agree.
Damn.
So I'm gonna give a
Yeah.
brief description of the original Cenobites and then the new ones, just because I want people to understand the differences and what was taken out.
Gotcha.
Because some were not used and some new ones were created for this.
Gotcha.
You got Pinhead. Pinhead is the most iconic. It's his pale, scarred face with nails driven into his skull in a grid pattern. He wears black, a leather-like outfit with hooks and chains attached to it. His demeanor is cold, authoritative, and deliberate. Pinhead is the leader of the Cenobites and serves as their spokesperson, often delivering chilling lines. He's the only one who primarily acts and interacts with those who solve the puzzle box, explaining the rules and consequences. You have the Chatterer, and is characterized by his mutilated face with his lips peeled back to expose his teeth, which constantly chatter. His eyes are sewn shut, and he has a somewhat grotesque, unsettling appearance. He is dressed similarly to Pinhead in a black leather outfit, and he's one of the most aggressive Cenobites, often acting as an enforcer, grabbing and restraining victims. You have Butterball, which is the heaviest Cenobite with a grotesque, bloated appearance. He wears dark glasses that cover his eyes, and his mouth is often smeared with blood. He has a hunched posture and exudes an unsettling, gluttonous aura. He's kind of like the Seven Deadly Sin kind of aspect I was thinking about. He's the
Mhm.
one I think about the most.
Yeah.
He's the one often seen lurking in the background, but plays a role in restraining and tormenting the victims. You have the female Cenobite, often referred to as Deep Throat. The female Cenobite has her throat mutilated. I actually read something that it looks like kind of like a vagina. I've read that before.
Gotcha.
With a wound held open by wires, giving her the nickname Deep Throat. So it's the fact that her
Eh,
throat is held open. That's why she's called that. She has a
yeah.
sinister and seductive presence, with her attire similar to the other Cenobites, featuring black leather and body modifications. She shares the same duties of tormenting and enforcing with the other Cenobites, and has a prominent role. Like I said before, these Cenobites are designed to have embodiments of pain and pleasure, their appearances reflecting the horrific and twisted nature of their existence. Their mission is to explore the extremes of human experience, often leading to the suffering and torment of those who encounter them. So now I'm gonna get into the new 2022 version, okay?
Yep.
So we had Pinhead, the 2022 version of Pinhead, now often referred to as the Priest, which it was in the original. People just called
Mhm.
the original Pinhead, but it was
Pinhead.
the Priest of Hell, always was.
Yeah.
Um, the new Pinhead retains the iconic nails driven into the skull in the grid pattern, but the design is more organic, with the nails appearing to be part of the flesh. The character's appearance is more androgynous, with a smoother, less mechanical look in the original. The skin is pale, with parts of the flesh peeled back, revealing the layers underneath. The priest exudes a calm, authoritative presence versus the original having more of like an authoritative and like very powerful presence.
Yeah.
But this one, it's kind of more calm. Um, Same role, orchestrating their actions and communicating with those who summon them primarily. The Chatterer is in the remake with even more grotesque than the original. The teeth are more exaggerated, and the flesh around the mouth is stretched back further, making the chattering sound more prominent. The eyes are still absent, replaced by deep cavities, giving the Chatterer a more monstrous appearance. The body has a skinned look with visible muscle and sinew, and it's more aggressive than the other Cenobites, playing a significant role in capturing and tormenting victims. Even with that description, I still think the original's more. The original
Oh, 100%.
it's just still more has more of a presence than this one.
Yep.
You have the Gasp. The Gasp is the reimagined version of the female Cenobite, previously known as Deep Throat. In this version, the character has a more terrifying appearance, with a large open wound on the throat held back by pins and hooks, revealing the inside of the neck. The Gasp has a twisted and sadistic smile and an eerie, commanding presence with flesh that appears to be peeled back and flayed in various places. The Gasp acts as a second in command to the priest, often engaging directly with the victims and delivering unsettling lines, just like the original. But I still think the original's presence was much stronger. Again, I think
Yeah.
this version of the female Cenobite did not hit well for me. It just didn't. I don't know, man. I don't know if it was the actress and who they chose, if it was the writing and directing, possibly a combination. But she didn't even look as powerful as the original. That's just me. I don't know about you, but
No, I agree. I agree with you. The original one is, I don't know if it was the way they designed her or the way she just acted and choices directed. Um, Definitely more of an intimidating presence,
right,
more of a, what's the word? Demanding presence. Like when they're present, you have no choice but to look.
right,
As opposed to this one, which was kind of like, oh, okay, you're there, cool.
right.
Oh, is
We
that?
have the Weeper. The Weeper is now is a new Cenobite introduced. The character has a sorrowful, almost tragic appearance, with skin that seems to be pulled back tight across the face, emphasizing the stretched mouth and teary, bloodshot eyes. The body is heavily mutilated with various hooks and pins distorting the flesh. The Weeper's expression is one of perpetual agony. The Weeper embodies the pain and suffering that the Cenobites represent, through not as aggressive as others. The Weeper adds an emotional dimension to the group's terror. I thought the Weeper was fine, but still, it just doesn't hit. That's just me.
None of them, none of them stood out as much as they did in the original.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
just were like background pieces.
I agree. You have Asphyx is another new addition. This character has more twisted, almost mechanical appearance with a metal apparatus constricting the neck and the face, The skin is stretched and disfigured with metal wires pulling at the flesh. The Asphyx's breathing is labored and raspy, adding to the eerie atmosphere. It is symbolic of suffocation and restraint, often seen in scenes where victims are captured and immobilized. Last one is the Mother, which is a Cenobite who has a nurturing but grotesque appearance. I think that was the one that had the skin hat. The character has more. Yeah, the character has more feminine, motherly figure, but with flesh that is flayed and torn, exposing the underlying tissue. The eyes are hollow and sunken, and the body is adorned with hooks and chains that pull at the skin. The Mother adds a more twisted sense of care to the Cenobites' tortured nature, embodying a perverse version of maternal instincts. And as with the last two, it does seem like the new ones do have more of a feminine body type and attributes, where they have more emotional and nurturing, maternal kind of aspects to their characters. And to me, that still just doesn't hit in total. As Nick was kind of saying before. But yeah, I'm gonna get into some fun facts. I just feel like we've gone long enough with this movie, and I do want to get into some fun facts just to give some more context. So here's a little bit more in depth with the configuration. So you have 6 configurations of the box. Obviously, 6 is the number of the beast. You have lament, which is life; lore, which is acknowledge; Lauderant, which is love; liminal, which is sensation; Lazarus, which is resurrection; and Leviathan, which is power. In order, the sacrifices and character deaths that correlate with each of the configurations leading up to the box being fully solved in the central plot: Matt, life; Serena, lore; Nora, love; Chatterer, sensation; Trevor, resurrection. The beginning victim Joey was offered on the Lazarus. My goodness, forgive me. The beginning victim Joey was offered as the Lazarus configuration, completing the puzzle for the first time for Voight. Each of the main plot sacrifices when Riley solves the box correlate with the configurations. Matt always ensures Riley has her life; Serena bearing all the knowledge of Voight's sins and research; Nora always acting on behalf of love; Chatterer, a Cenobite mutilating soul that has already experienced all the sensation of suffering; Trevor secretly being in power, orchestrating Riley getting the lament configuration. That's fine. That's good attention to detail. That's good underlying tones. I respect that.
Yeah.
The idea of the pin-covered head Cenobite being female isn't as new as some viewers thought. Already in the original novel, The Hellbound Heart, the corresponding Cenobite was said to have a feminine voice, the only clue to a possible gender a human could perceive, making this movie truer to the text. But even more recently, in the Boom Studios Hellraiser comics, written by Clive Barker himself and released through the 2010s, Kirsty Cotton ended up turning into a female version of Pinhead when taking his place as leader of the Cenobites. This is the first Hellraiser movie to have a female Pinhead. In Clive Barker's original novel, The Hellbound Heart, Pinhead, a title Barker dislikes, preferring Hell Priest, like I was mentioning before, which was not used before Barker's 2015 novel, The Scarlet Gospels, is described as modified to the point that it appears sexless. So the Hell King is more sexless than anything else. Even in this new version, it looking like a woman, its voice was still deep.
Yeah, it's a deeper voice.
So it kind of does play with that.
Had like a two-tone thing going on. Where
Yeah.
It's like how do I explain it? Like that Bury a Friend, where you hear like Billy's voice and then you hear the deeper voice at the same exact time, singing the same lyrics. Right. It's like that two-tone thing going on.
I can see that. Jamie Clayton could barely move while in costume as Pinhead, and it was very heavy and tight on her body. Fun fact. Bruckner and the crew reached out to Bradley to make a cameo appearance in the film, but Bradley declined for 2 reasons. First, potential complications with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and secondly, his desire to leave his Pinhead performance's legacy intact, a decision Bruckner and his crew accepted. I agree with that. Yeah, keep him out of this.
What was the last one he did?
I don't know. He's in a lot. He's in a lot of them.
Because I know, like, after a certain point, they recast him. Let me check. So, his last one he did was Hellraiser Hellworld.
Okay.
Okay. But he just recently said in a Bloody Disgusting interview in 2024, I certainly never say never, and I've never said I was done with it. I've never said I'm retired from it,
All right.
which is kind of crazy. But I know they came out with a couple more Hellraisers after he hung up the pins,
Right.
but I'm not sure like
That's cool. We'll see what happens. It took 4 hours to
yeah,
apply the makeup to all the actors playing the Cenobites, and around 45 minutes to an hour to remove it all. I mean, respect to actors and the, costume design and makeup design. You need 4 hours to put the makeup on. It sucks. And I'm sure there's other movies that take even longer than 4 hours. But even like going off of what the movie shows, I mean, 4 hours seems a little generous because they're pretty intricate pieces of makeup.
no, you're not wrong.
We have
So
such sites. Go ahead.
they made two more films after Doug Bradley exited the role.
Mm-hmm.
Hellraiser Revelations and Hellraiser Judgment. Haven't heard anything about either of those,
Mm-hmm.
so probably tells you what you need to know.
Right.
Um, and fun fact, Ryan Reynolds' makeup for Deadpool, I believe, like for his face and stuff, I think that took up to 4 hours as well. And if it was whole body, I think it would be like six
Mm.
hours possibly. But it's crazy because like you wouldn't expect something like that, especially when you're looking at Pinhead and how like detailed that is
Mm-hmm.
to be equal lengths.
I mean, perhaps it's because with Pinhead, it's white face and just makeup on the head, and then pins, prosthetics, and throughout the whole body, prosthetics, and then with Reynolds, we have his whole damn face cratered and all these different elements of it, which could be, that makes kind of sense to me. But still, they do a good job in terms of time putting on makeup to all these people.
No, honestly, props to the makeup crew.
100%. Quote, "We have such sights to show you," is an homage quote to the original Hellraiser film. Trevor finding a partially stocked bar offers Nora a drink with "What's your pleasure?" directly quoting a major line from the earlier films. With this reboot, all primary Golden Age slasher icons of the 70s and 80s have been remade. Leatherface of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, Michael Myers of Halloween 2007, Jason Voorhees of Friday the 13th in 2009, Freddy Krueger of A Nightmare on Elm Street in 2010, Chucky of Child's Play in 2019, and now Pinhead in 2022. All the Golden Age primary slasher icons remake features bear the same title of their initial feature, and of all, only Pinhead has been portrayed as a genderless character in the remake, making it more like the character as written originally by author Clive Barker. So literally all of them are now remade, and all the original remakes have the name of the original film as well.
Jeez.
Finally releasing with an October 2nd Film Fest special screening and streaming theatrical release on October 4th, ending the film's development hell and delays spanning 26 years. So they've been trying to do this movie for like 26 years.
Holy shit. So
What a waste.
dude, no wonder it took so long.
Yeah, right.
Like no shade to Odessa, no shade to any of the actors, no shade to the what's his name? David S. Goyer. Or to the director, because he's done phenomenal work. It's just with this many complications,
It
this
makes
many
sense.
setbacks, this many delays, it makes sense why you ended up with the product you got.
I agree.
And as Stan, I think it's Stan Edgar said to Homelander, "You're just bad product."
Indeed it was. I'm giving this movie a 2 out of 5.
I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 as well.
It feels right, and there are some elements that can, if you've never seen the original Hellraiser, you could probably get into this. It's a story that's interesting, with layers to it that are interesting, and leaves you searching for more answers and for more story. and that's why I give it a little bit of praise to give it a 2 instead of like a 1.5.
Yeah.
Uh,
The certain acting, certain acting in the film gives it those stars for me,
because
as
all
well as
the
the
acting was good.
yeah, as well as the initiative and the choice to do a lot of practical effects
Right.
in camera. That also is what. So just because of those two things primarily, and cinematography, even score at times, I'm gonna give it the 2.
Uh,
I would give it 2.5, but the writing is what really knocks that half out.
yeah. And I would give it 1.5 as if it wasn't for some sort of interesting story. So if you haven't watched the reviews thus far, we do have a tier list that we've created for horror movies. Lowest tier, we have Salt and Burn It. Next one, we have Straight to the Grave. Next above that, So Bad It's Good. Next is Put It on a Shirt. Next is Scarred for Life. Next is Therapy Required. I am going to give this an acceptable Straight to the Grave.
I was
Because
thinking straight to the grave.
because it's not so bad it's good. I will never want to rewatch this ever again. It's not as bad as Salt and Burn It because they have good elements to this movie. So it's got to be Straight to the Grave because like I just leave it there, leave this in the casket, bury it 6 feet under, leave it there for all eternity, and it's just disappointing to say the least.
It's gonna be straight to the grave for me. I know I said it a little early, but yeah, like Jacob said, just put it in the coffin, bury 6 feet under, say a nice few words, and then leave it at that.
Seems like we're going on a horror thing right now, and that's perfectly fine with me. We are going to definitely get into some films that are not horror. We're just kind of going on what we want to do. And, we're having a good time. Hope you guys are too. And we're just going to keep pumping these out. We'll probably do 1 or 2 more horrors. Like I said, we have like Southbound, Satanic Hispanics that we want to do. A couple of those anthology films that I know Nick is kind of shaky with, but I know he might want to delve into them if he feels like it. So we're probably going to do a couple more horror movies. And there are some other ones like Cuckoo. I really want to do Cuckoo.
Dude,
That's
yes.
going to be a good one that we could do next. Whenever it's available for rent, because it's out of theaters by now. It's definitely going to
Really?
be it's going to be a good second option when it gets to rent for sure.
Just came out though.
Yeah, but I can't find it.
No way. Let me check. I know this is cutting into the outro, but
Yeah,
bear with me. Bear with me, everybody. I just need to see. I need to see
we have some good
where.
options to choose from. There's some classics that we can maybe rewatch, but I think there's so much that we want to watch already that we're definitely going to dive into what we have not
I think
dove into before.
possibly Strange Darling too.
Okay,
That's in theaters right now. You might want to look that up.
we're thinking of
Dude,
doing.
Long Legs is back in theaters.
That's cool. We're thinking of doing Skinamarink. We watched it before. I think we might do that one as well, just to give the people our thoughts about Skinamarink and why we want to like it more and why we didn't like it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Dude, yeah, it's not.
So Cuckoo is pretty much out. So whenever it gets
Dude, that's
whenever it's available
insane.
for rent, I'll rent it. Then we'll watch it. So for now, we hope you enjoy the video. Let us know what you think about the comments of this film. Let us know if you agree or disagree. Let us know what you rate it in terms of 1 through 5 stars, and where you're gonna put it on our tier list. Nick, any last thoughts?
How the fuck is the Crow still out, but Cuckoo how's Cuckoo the Crow showing, but Cuckoo is out?
I don't know.
What
We
is
could
the world coming
do
to?
the new Crow. We could do the new Crow. We could do that.
Don't make me go through
I
that.
mean, hey, there's just some things we gotta review. There's just listen. I've never seen The Crow, and I'll watch it, and then we could do The Crow if you really want to. We'll talk about it. But for now,
If
go ahead.
you people have made it to the end of this video, if you leave a comment that says The Crow, or we get at least 5 likes on this video before next Friday, I will watch The Crow with Jacob, the new one,
Okay.
and we'll review it.
So once again, from Based on Cinema, I'm a Jacob.
Nick.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.